What's up and welcome back to Interpreting the Scares, where today we're taking a look at 47 Meters Down, Uncaged, which of course is the sequel to the 2017 film 47 Meters Down. Normally to prepare for a new movie I'd rewatch and rescore the original, but I've been really busy lately with just how many sequels are coming out these days that I couldn't do it. Instead, I'll tell you that my original score for the first film was 73%. Some people really don't care for it much at all, but there were moments of that first film that I honestly found quite thrilling. So out of all the new digital releases this week, I was kind of anticipating this most of all, even though I could kind of guess it'd probably get overlooked as a whole. Regardless, let's break this thing down. Come right along. 47 Meters Down, Uncaged follows a group of girls as they go assumably 47 meters down into water to investigate an ancient and submerged Mayan city, long forgotten, buried underneath the sea. It is during their scuba-centric tour when they are attacked by a great white shark and must traverse through the mazes of this underground city to escape from this incredibly hungry shark. The only problem is they're running out of oxygen. So this is an interesting type of film to have a sequel to, right? Because it's almost obviously a cash grab. Because they aren't continuing the story of the first, they're mostly recreating it, which was probably the main fear that I had for it going in. The best chance this film had at being a success was bringing in characters from the first and continuing their growth. They weren't exactly strong characters to begin with, so they obviously had plenty to work with to make them stronger. Instead, like I said, this was mostly a blank slate film, recreating it while also slightly making it different. What specifically was different in Uncaged? Well, the Uncaged bit, but that was kind of expected. The first film centered on a group of girls that were in a precarious situation, stuck in a claustrophobic cage that was both saving them and risking their lives at the same time. I love when movies mostly take place in one spot throughout the film because it allows for a lot of opportunities for character growth without really risking the tension the film naturally already had. Had they done the cage in the second movie, it really would have been the same exact movie. So in order to make a sequel, you kind of have to keep it uncaged, so to speak. But at the same time, the cage was a major piece to the puzzle defining what 47 Meters Down even was. So they had to replace it with something that served the basic same function, and they did that with the submerged Mayan city, and I really respect that aspect of it. Because even though it's not a conventional cage, it was still something that was imprisoning the girls and risking their lives in the same fashion. Plus, hidden cities under the sea, in general, they're awesome. When it comes down to differentiating the two films, though, that's kind of where it ends because they use a ton of the same tension-building tactics as the first. Things like running out of oxygen, things like intercoms malfunctioning so they can't hear each other. There was hardly ever anything new that physically happens to these people to warrant an entirely new film. This, of course, lends to the theory that it's just a big cash grab, but guys, there are better movies to create a cash grab film. I'm just saying. Let's talk about the shark for a second. They kept it in the dark a majority of the time, and that was probably a smart move because even though it was in the dark a majority of the time, you could tell just how bad it looked. I don't recall ever having anything against the actual appearance of the sharks in the original film, but something about this one looked darn cheap. Something about the lack of details, like it was too smooth. Something about the lighting didn't match up with the lighting in the rest of the shots. Something about how sharp or unfocused it was didn't match up with its surroundings. It was just a mess, and the mess of visuals didn't really end there. There were other moments in this movie that had a good idea, but it didn't have as much of an execution as it probably wanted to have, and some of it ended up looking slightly too cartoony for me to believe. Guys, I really wanted to like this movie. I really did, but because I do enjoy shark attack films for whatever reason, and if certain elements in the film are unbelievable, then you can't take the characters' emotions and expressions seriously, even though they were typically doing an okay job, and you have a rough time believing the tension the film was at least working on building. Feeling tension pretty much requires the audience to also be invested into what's going on, and I doubt they'll feel very invested in this one. Take that as you will. It's time to rate this thing. I gave 47 Meters Down, Uncaged 52%. 52 out of 100 possible stars, granting it the letter grade of F. Some other 2019 horror films in this letter grade are Annabelle Comes Home, Ma, They're Inside, Hellboy, The Silence, The Curse of La Llorona, and Bad Ben, The Way In, which is interesting because this week Bad Ben 7 comes out, which is called Bad Ben, The Haunted Highway. It's crazy how this guy releases 2 of these movies every year. Anyway, we'll get around to that eventually. First, I want to hear what you guys have to say about 47 Meters Down and its duology. Are you a fan of the first, and have you seen the sequel? If you haven't, do you want to? Anyways, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you like this review and would like to see some more like it. Hit the little thumbs up button, as that always helps out my channel. And don't forget about that bell, because that helps notify you when I come out with my next review. But until then,